Good day, everyone. So my report is all about the Vroom model of shared decision making. This model was proposed by Victor Vroom and his colleagues Yeton and Jago. But before we're going to proceed discussing this model, I have a question. How much should a leader involve others in making decisions? Leaders have to make many decisions and are faced with the question of how much to involve their team in these decisions. So it's a good thing that we have the Vroom and Yeton decision-making model, because it is a tool validated by research that can help leaders determine how much they should involve others in their decision-making process. So it's a situational thing. It's how the decision make, how the information collected, brainstorming, determine the cause and effect. Also, they proposed 5 decision styles in making a decision. But we're going to skip that first, and let's discuss first the 4 rules to enhance the quality of decisions. So we have 4 rules. First, quality rule. Second, leader information rule. Third, trust rule or goal congruence. And the last one is problem structure rule. Let's discuss first the quality rule. So quality rule use an unilateral approach to decision making only if the quality requirement is low, the decision is important, and will be readily accepted by subordinates. So in this rule, quality rule should be applied if agreed by the subordinates despite decision is based on oneself. Next is leader information rule. Don't make a unilateral decision if the quality of the decision is important and you don't possess sufficient information and expertise to solve the problem alone. So this applies if the leader himself or herself is not knowledgeable enough to make decisions. Next is trust rule or goal congruence. Make a unilateral decision when the quality of the decision is important and you can't trust subordinates to decide on the basis of the organizational goals. So this applies if nobody from the group is trustworthy when it comes to decision making. And the last rule is problem structural rule. Involve knowledgeable subordinates to collect relevant information when the quality of the decision is important, the problem is unstructured, and you lack sufficient information or expertise. So, in this rule, this involves expert subordinate in decision making. Next is the 4 rules to enhance the acceptance of decisions. So we have 4 rules again. The acceptance rule, the subordinate conflict rule, third, subordinate commitment rule, and the 4th one is subordinate information rule. The acceptance rule involves subordinates if their acceptance of the decision is critical for effective implementation and you are unsure if they will accept an autocratic decision. Next, the subordinate conflict rule involves subordinates when there is a conflict among subordinates, acceptance of the decision is critical, and an autocratic decision is unlikely to be accepted. Next, number 3, Subordinate commitment rule. A group decision should be made even when the quality of the decision is not important, but its acceptance is critical and problematic. And the last one is the subordinate information rule. Subordinates should not be called upon to make a decision for which they have insufficient information or expertise. Next is the constraints on decision making. The first, so we have two, the time constraint and the development constraint. So when we say the time constraint, the time is often critical. Time is not free. The amount of time used in making a decision is cost expressed in terms of the loss of attention to other activities. And the developmental constraint often don't have the knowledge and skills to contribute. Decision making is a learned skill developed through practice. To empower teachers means to give them the skills and opportunities to make an important decisions. So, these are the decision making styles that I mentioned a while ago. So Vroom and Yeton made 5 decision styles. First, the autocratic. When we say autocratic, leader chooses using information available to her at that time. So the leader using the existing information solves problem unilaterally. Next, inform autocratic. So the leader solves the problem unilaterally after obtaining necessary information from subordinates. So meaning, in informed autocratic, leader might go out and grab information from others. And number 3, individual consultative. So the leader shares the problem with subordinates, soliciting their ideas individually, and makes a decision that may not reflect the influence of subordinates. So in these decision styles, the leader meets with people one-on-one to gather information. Fourth, group consultative. The leader shares the problem with group members, solicits their ideas, makes the decision, which may or may not reflect the influence of subordinates. So in these styles, leader meets with the group to gather feedback and inputs and then make decisions. And for the last one, group agreement. The leader shares the problem with subordinates as a group and together generates and evaluates alternatives and an attempt to reach consensus. So it's the time to do the consensus and shall we say, you gather in a table and you're going to make a decision. So you're going to make a consensus. So that's the 5 decision styles by Vroom and Yeton. Now let's proceed to decision-making trees. So decision-making trees, the effectiveness of a decision depends on its quality, its acceptance, and its timeliness by Vroom and Jago. So decision-making trees allows an individual to foresee possible decisions that arise by following set of rules. This also allows an individual to tailor solutions to arising problems. It is a pictorial scheme that traces the possible decisions that arise by following a set of decision rule. So this whole report entails that in every organization, transparency is important. This allows every members to entrust everyone. And that's the end of my report. Thank you and have a good time.